Yeah, baby! Welcome to our third episode of Synchronicity. You are tapping in to the root of the symmetry. I am your fellow creator, Cynchranici-Tea, aka Symmetry, the author of the structure that you are tapping into. Here I am, coming from Mercury. It's lit. Got the balance. Got the air. Speaking of air, I am about to simmer my trees, low key, high key actually. This is definitely about to get blazed. So today's episode, before I actually play my new song for you, Simmer My Trees, just want to let you know that we are about to get into the difference between Hermeticism and Cymacism. Since I'm the spirit who made not only Hermeticism, but like no one knows about Cymacism because it's a new thing. This is me getting to not only clarify what Hermeticism actually is, but also then getting to bring something new into the world, which is Cymacism. We get to now have a whole new section of school. All right, you are rolling not just with Tahuti Hermes Trismegistus, but Chase Clarence Calloway, the Symmetry. All right, so we're both tapping in from Mercury. I'm the spirit Irisel. So many names, right? It's lit. Let's not get limited. Let's not get lost. But let's also be happy knowing that we are all vibrating at a certain frequency to create the energy that allows us to express ourselves in the first place. It's lit. I'm about to simmer my trees. See you on the other side.
Been crying, I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying. I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My soul's been crying wild, my mind's been flying so high. Through the astral plane, Merkaba brain, I built your game, we're not the same. My soul's been crying while my mind's been flying to relay a word. Those who listen heard, we make our vibe from deep inside. My soul's been crying while my mind's been flying back into my space, called away with haste, so I'll fall with grace to thrill my chase. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying too. Water my earth, I know my worth. My soul gives birth to all my work. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying, so I can't connect with those you neglect. Time to correct how we reflect. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying too. Who flood the sea with energy from my inner chi? I'm free to be me. I felt to inspire you to say how to fly higher too. Fly higher too. Fly higher too. Hang out with a family in your true spot. Don't be sad if you forgot that you've got a spirit squad and you're not true to this spot. Flip a script and break the facade. Take a trip and go abroad. When you're brave, they will apply. We get in touch with your true God. I've been fighting. I've been vibing. When I'm dancing with demons, reversing curses, they scheming. They be fiending for reasons to change the sins of the season. So I've been falling, cause y'all been calling my mind out of my spirit. I feel it best when I'm near it, but y'all cry for help and I hear it. So Hermes flies out to stare it in a new healthy direction. Will grow through natural connection. So I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C to level up like it's nothing, to turn into something, to bust into function, bumping and pumping with all the wisdom I'm gushing. And when I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C, I felt to inspire you. summer in the skies. I triple in my chi, then I open up my eyes. Symmetry. I balance in my seasons. I mother the cohesion that keeps us intertwined. Symmetry. Balance in my seasons, and I don't need a reason to fulfill my desires. Symmetries.
Hermeticism. What is Hermeticism? All right. Man, this is going to be fun. I don't have this scripted, so I'm really just vibing. Glad you're here with me. We're hanging out. I'm just about to let myself relax a little bit because I am a Virgo moon. And as a Virgo moon, I get so thoughtful that I can block the flow of my own feeling. You feel me? And I'm sure you can all relate. We kind of live in a technological age where we're all supposed to be so thoughtful, we're actually depressed. And we actually have anxiety. And the feeling that powers life can't even flow properly because we have too many thoughts in the way. We have too many bills, right? That's some somatic reflection right there, as far as knowing that nothing's a coincidence and knowing that everything has meaning. Why is Bill literally be ill? Okay, because the bill wants you to be ill. The bill wants you to be sick. Got it. And how many people get sick because of bills? Basically, that's where most health problems certainly come out of, as far as the role that stress plays, right, in messing up people's hearts and organs and their body's ability to communicate overall, because that's what any disease is, your body not being able to communicate like it normally should be. And that's where you would have to come fast. Join our courses. We're fasting over here. I'm fasting right now. I mean, I'm almost always fasting at this point. But I mean, I love to eat. Like, that's the point of fasting. Like, it makes eating more enjoyable. It makes it more worth it when you do. You get more out of it. And it makes you way more mindful and conscious of what you're eating. So many people are just out here eating, and they're just eating every day, eating anything, eating groceries, more somatic things, as far as nothing being a coincidence. This is why I had to develop Cymacism, because all I see when I travel in the universe, and like in this lifetime, literally, when I've taken my mind and flown across the universe, spirits use my principles to create life. I don't own spirits. I don't own anybody. That doesn't even make any sense at all in any way, shape, or form. As a spirit, I'm supposed to be in control of myself. So spirits get lost whenever they're like, yeah, but I want to control spirits outside of myself. And then they create all this logic, like light in general, just money would be a great example. Like, okay, because I have this number that I made up, I'm now going to go enslave these indigenous peoples for centuries. And I'm better than them because I have more of a number that I made up. Like on a spiritual level, it's just one spirit using an excuse to go rape and consume the creations of another spirit. So light is that excuse. So the fact is, we as spirits, we use light to connect. And the feelings in which we do so are what allow us to make life possible. That's why all energy is vibrating at a certain frequency. And this brings us to our first Hermetic law, that everything is vibrating. So again, you're not about to get this explained any more clearly than from me, Hermes, the guy himself. It's just hilarious looking on the internet and seeing people try. But the point is that everything is so colonized and Christianized. And it literally takes me as a spirit using this English language. That's why I've created Dissect the Dialect, which I'm about to get into the alphabet and everything in later in this podcast. Again, you're tapping into the root of the symmetry for all of the relevant wisdom for the world that we're in. So in all simulations. Like when I take my mind, go to other simulations and stuff, that's the whole thing of us as spirits being able to create multiple forms of life, multiple forms of light, to express multiple forms of ourself, but they're only ever going to be powered by our soul. So no matter what I look like in any lifetime or any simulation, I am the messenger of Mercury, which then turns out to be messenger of the gods, because Mercury is just the highest form in the universe of communication. It's my simulation that I have created, continuously create with my very awesome family, where we reflect upon everything happening in the universe and record it. So then this is where you can see that I, as Hermes, am Tahuti, Thoth, T'Chaus, where I get to record, I get to build structures of ascension that aid spirits in the realms in which I've relayed messages. Because in general, as Hermes, as the messenger of the gods, my message to any simulation is my properties of Hermeticism. This is why I'm messenger of the gods, because this isn't like we're all part of one God. I literally made this up myself. And it's through making this up through lifetimes and consistently playing this role that I play as Chase Clarence Calloway, as the thrice great symmetry, tripling the communication ability to alchemize my nothing into something. That I've been able to get exalted in this way, I suppose, to where even when I erase my awareness and just step out into the universe, I can't help but be me and ride the vibration of what I've done before anyway. So this is the point of all of us as spirits. When we want to connect with any kind of space outside of ourselves, we have to create one bigger body of water. And that's why everything is connected by the universe, because everything is a reflection of you. You are connected to everything that you feel like being connected to. So this is where the law of vibration is, very applicable for your life in terms of what do you feel like being connected to? You feel me? What do you feel like doing? Because as a spirit, we can't put ourselves in situations that we don't really feel like being in. We can find ourselves in situations that we don't feel like being in, but the point, this is what Cymacism is all about. Because Hermeticism, when I'm kicking it in any simulation, in any reality, this is so trippy. This is why I like making art as Chase Clarence Calloway. I just get to flow like this. I do, bro. I get to just express myself. Lit. Wow. Because, like, life is so subconscious. Sometimes it takes reflecting upon things in the past to realize just how deep everything has been and how intentional life has been. So I can look back on my life and look at the hermetic ways in which it's been intentional. And the whole point of me developing Cymacism is that we, as the bodies of our spirits, are not necessarily supposed to feel like our circumstances are intentional. As a spirit, our circumstance can only ever be intentional. We can only ever be ourselves, inside of ourselves. We can only ever be intention and individual, inside and inward, a Negro, making new nature from our nothingness. But when we feel like connecting, that's where life gets somatic. So that's why somatics is literally the scientific term for how vibrations, spirits use vibrations to create the geometric shapes that spirits use to block out their spaces. So that's really the balance of all life right there. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but it's because this is just how I want to do it right now. Hermeticism is fire, Cymacism is water. I'm going to get into the laws, but the point is that the laws are light. So fire is light. So when we as spirits use light to express ourselves, that's us being hermetic in general. And again, the point of Hermeticism is that I have created it as a way to be able to consciously communicate how all of us as spirits connect and create life together, so that we can be able to do that on higher and higher levels based on our desires and feelings and all of that. That's the whole point. We're creating our genes to chase our dreams. That's why You're rolling with Chase Currents Calloway at chaseyourgenes.com. It's about using your genes, knowing that you're using your body to wear yourself. You're putting on your body to step outside of your space as a mind so that you can then connect with others. Life is like one big comic convention. Comic conventions have been insanely, incredibly integral to my awakening. So, man, even just reflecting on that, so much. Because, like, there are, like, literally cults of women just hounding me for years. And it was very much tied to me expressing myself at conventions. And this was a whole lesson, like a huge lesson for me. Like, a very huge lesson for me. In terms of just, like, developing Cymacism. Like, that's actually a perfect example. So, look, hermetically, I love making these superhero costumes, right? I love making these Spider-Man costumes, these Black Panther costumes. And then, of course, I learn about myself subconsciously for me to then be able to communicate about how spiders are 8-dimensional beings, and Spider-Man's just riding Hermes. Thoth is really the one that they're trying to capture when they're creating T'Challa, which is why they had Chadwick Boseman play Thoth before he played T'Challa in the movies. All energy, of course, all intentional in that way. It took... It was me making these costumes and just, like, naturally resonating with these characters, right? For me to be able to reflect back and see that I've been this spirit. And now I can more consciously communicate about these characters than no other spirit can communicate about these characters like I can, because they're actually riding my frequency. And it just took me naturally playing that out in the most relatable way, which is from the bottom up, not the top down. So Hermeticism is the top down. I build pyramids from the top down, like a Kamehameha. Kaya! And then it's just one point and it spreads out. I have it mathematically precise. It's lit. Cymacism is then using the pyramid that one is built from the top down to ascend. And this is the balance of life. This is what air is. So that's why Hermeticism is fire, Cymacism is water. Hermeticism is fire, is the sun, is beaming down. Hermeticism, fire, the sun, beaming down. Cymacism, the water, the ocean, reflecting the light back up. Now we've got an atmosphere, and this is what life is forever. It's all atmospheres. We're creating atmospheres intentionally with our feelings and thoughts. So it took me making these costumes and, like, having all these experiences at conventions where girls were just don't know how to act. Like, girls start to act so irrational. Girls start to literally chase me like it's my name. And then here I am being chased. And it's just very silly. So it's, like, just inevitable. Man, I'm so glad I get to talk like this. Because if I was really talking to someone straight up on their level, like I had been most of my life, especially in school and just all the white supremacist brainwashing, of course, I can't, like, let my spirit communicate to me about myself unfiltered in a language that I understand. Because I, as Chase, am limited to the English. The English! So my spirit, if I just, like, let myself flow, then my spirit, which actually knows everything about me before I became a body, before I became this earth, the water that animates me will then let me know way more about myself. And that's the whole point of, like, subconscious. Your subconscious is your water. And you can do, like, automatic writing to then figure out more about your subconscious. Figure out who you are on an unconscious level in that way. Because your unconscious is your spirit. Your subconscious would be your soul. Your consciousness is your body, or your awareness, what feels like the body, right? So your body is your conscious, but your body only matters because of your subconscious, right? Like, your awareness, everything that you're doing right now is built on memory. That's your subconscious. So, like, you literally can't categorize or recognize anything around you if you didn't subconsciously build a relationship with it through a whole lifetime or however long, right? So that's the whole point of us having names and words and everything. And this is why Hermeticism is essential. And this is why I'm organically so passionate about these things as a spirit. Like, this isn't me being assigned a mission from God or anything. It's literally who I naturally am. But then as spirits, when we are using our man and woman to create the child that allows us to step outside of our space, then that does play out in all these family dynamics that allow us to then project our feelings of wanting to build a home internally to the external, and then that's how we start to build families, and then drama happens, right? Because now the moment you're connecting with anyone, you also like get their problems and everything. So that's the point of water. Whenever you subconsciously feel like connecting to something, it's because that's matter that you want to matter, or else it doesn't matter. You can't see something that doesn't matter to you. Yet it all exists inside the unconscious, right? It's still only possible because of the spirit. So I need Cymacism. Everyone needs to feel like they didn't create their circumstance while knowing that they did. And this is the paradox of life. I need Cymacism, just like everyone needs to have empathy for victims, right? Because Cymacism is bringing that hermetic awareness to victims. So, for example, black people, right? Black people are trained to view themselves as victims. Black people were trained to believe that we are completely owned and at the whim of white people, and everything that we have to do is to break out of their grasp. And the more energy we give to them to break out, the more money they make off of us. Black Lives Matter. So Cymacism is about bringing that hermetic awareness to, hey, look, absolutely, you are a victim of circumstance. Because the fact is, life is created through all of us as spirits connecting and communicating. So if the spirits who are building life for the spirits who are using Hermeticism to manipulate them are not aware of Hermeticism, then this is where we get the world that we're in now. This is why these white supremacists have worked so hard to colonize and steal everything from Egypt and Mesoamerica, everything that I and Anubis and my soul group have done, and use it to enslave everyone to get them to the point that they're at now. It's about using the fact that we're creating life to make spirits create life in your image. So then that's the idea of, Jesus, Christianity, taking over the world like 2,000 years ago, right? And being like, hey, you're not an individual. We're an individual. And your spirituality is only good if you serve all of your feelings to this individual who is a true son of the true creator. And it's just like so many tears of lostness because they're like not even acknowledging the spirit. They're talking about there's the father, and then the father made the son. And even though you're a son of the father, you're not a true son of the father. You need to worship the son of the father. So my life, like literally just even reflecting back, is literally I have to be passionate about this because I'm so invested in this as Chase. I'm so angry about this. Like I was so angry. Like, why am I being forced to worship the sacrifice of what would be an African man if he existed? Let's say he did exist or whatever. What would be an African man if he existed, who fasted for 40 days to talk to God? You're telling me I need to worship his sacrifice instead of doing it myself? And then I'm also over here just getting into my logical bag of, how did Christianity spread across the world? Hold up, indigenous peoples were fasting, and you told them that they needed to sacrifice their fasting individuality to the guy who fasted so you don't have to? What is this? So it's deep. It's deep. America's wild. America's wild. And look, building Teotihuacan and everything, I'm clearly huge part of the foundation of everything in North, South, and Central America. So indigenous peoples, the Mesoamericans that were here, we were all using Hermetic principles, and that's what's been stolen. That's why the Emerald Tablets were stolen from the indigenous peoples of South America. I was going to say whatever words. Every word is almost redundant, but we have words. That's the point, is we have these words to start connecting the subconscious, because these are the words that we're consciously aware of to connect our feelings of history and past things. Mayans, Incans, Aztecs, right? They had the emerald tablets, but I mean, of course, it's bigger than that. Whatever. The Olmecs predate them. The fact is, I, as Hermes, am out here kicking Hermeticism in simulations in infinite dimensions as a messenger of God, because it is basically just my cosmic duty. Like, it is what I love to do, my duty, to hooty duty with the booty, just with the glutees flying, striding, just running through the astral realm, flying, getting these messages out about how beautiful you are, because everyone deserves to love themselves, and this is what life is truly all about: learning how to love yourself. Always, anytime you step out of your space, I want you to love yourself. And that's where I can get negative, because anything that I see that isn't really loving you needs to almost go, but then that's where I have to be balanced in how I connect with that, because, hey, lots of people don't want to love themselves. And like, that's part of their journey to loving themselves. Like, how could I shortcut all the memories that they're going to have of not loving themselves and abusing themselves? Like, the whole point is that you're building up memories so that you can learn what you want and what you don't want. And now you can consciously create even greater. And the whole point, of course, you got to forget some things, like thinking about my past lives. Like, I remember things from past lives, right? But like, I'm not consciously operating from that awareness. Like, the point of being in one body is that you have restricted your consciousness, you have restricted your awareness, so that you can be somatic, so that you can connect in a more relatable way. So I'm already not very relatable to many people in my life since I started fasting. Like, most people were like kept trying to make me eat, and I already lost so many people just from fasting, because I was getting so upset about, why are we worshiping Jesus, and like, why am I being forced to be a Christian my whole life, but no one's fasting, no one is walking the walk, but they're trying to talk the talk of Jesus. So then, of course, through fasting, boom, I connect with myself even deeper, realize I've lived before, and now here I am speaking like this. Because the point is, when you fast, you get rid of the garbage from the world, and you're able to connect with your nothingness in a way that allows you to create life more consciously. And that looks like being healthier. So science can be so lost, right? They'll be lost in all the infinite details of, oh, fasting does this and this. But spiritually, that's the basis of why fasting's healthy. So hop in our course. All right, get tough. The ultimate functional fast, baby. Because fasting is everything. In all realms and realities, as Tahuti Hermes Trismegistus, I love it. Eating no thing. The paradox there. Every time you want to eat nothing. Try that. Boom. You just ate your spirit. You're actually about to be more in line with your spirit. I've never put it like that, but it's because I'm fasting. See, because when I was fasting years ago, for the advent of my awakening, that's when I made the album Transgressions, because I was so passionate about creating symmetry, about being this interdimensional indigenous superhero who knew that spirits were creating life because they felt like connecting. I knew that. I didn't have these words for Hermeticism back then at all, because forget these words. I was about to curse really hard. I almost didn't want to. I'm about to start. I don't know why. I'm not. That's hilarious. Whatever. Forget these words. But no, fuck it. For real though. Like, I don't need Hermeticism back then. The point is that I would have been limited if I was actually thinking back then. It was so bigger than that. It was so much more than Hermeticism. Now I can bring it down to Hermeticism, and that's the point of me creating Cymacism. It's symmetry's version of Hermeticism, which is the reflection, the being in the water. It's me as Chase being relatable. Like being here on the level of everyone else and showing how we as gods who are all alone, so Hermes is who I am alone in my fiery imagination, connect with each other. When I connect with you, it looks like I'm symmetry. And that in general is balance. That in general is being the synchronicity, letting you know that nothing is a coincidence because everything's intentional. That's the symmetry. You are the balance. Balance is air. So you are experiencing yourself as your own communication. You are not your communication. You can change the way that you communicate as a space based on how you observe your thoughts and feelings. So this is Hermeticism right here. Hermeticism is your thoughts inside of your own space. Cymacism is your feelings inside of your own space. And when you combine that together, you're now conscious of yourself. And then we can create a life that allows us to build all this logic and laws and architecture, buildings in general. Just build this architecture, build this art. Allow us to express ourselves, express our natures more. Based on how we see all of us as spirits doing this together. So, man, I haven't even gotten into these laws, but hey, that's the point. Because, yeah, this is how I've developed it is through fasting and diligent, deep use of psychedelics and being able to then fast and use psychedelics in tandem to the point where I split my mind from my body and was able to communicate with my best friend, my beautiful dead dog, my Jack Russell Terrier, Max. I love him. I feel him right now. And it was wild because it was truly my main desire, like after fasting and everything, of developing symmetry and making transgressions and fasting through Chicago and everything. Oh my God, all that, and traveling, that I was able to communicate with him. And now I'm able to communicate with him in a much more consistent way. And it's been such a journey of building this beautiful relationship with my very awesome dog as Chase. This is also why I need symmetry and Cymacism. This is also what Cymacism is about. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Let me get in here. It was building this connection with my beautiful dog Max as Chase that made me want to break out of the confines of what Christianity taught me was real and how Christianity taught me to view death. And it's once I was able to take my mind from my body and like communicate and get in touch with my dog that I was forced to realize who I truly was. Because that was where the awakening was. It became black and white. As far as there was no room for doubting anymore. Because the moment I got connected back with Max, he makes me call him Anubis. I'm forced to recognize that he's Anubis. I can't not. So then it's like, oh, well, who am I? He's like, right. And then there's the whole Atlantean family. Like, oh my gosh, there was this one amazing psychedelic trip I had. I took 3 tabs, 3 tabs of these like beautiful orange pyramids, like just orange LSD pyramids. They're so beautiful. They're so nice. And this was my first time. This was after I went to California for the first time and then went back to Cincinnati so that I could go back to California. This trip was remarkable. Oh my gosh. Because this was me just I love it. I love life. I love being symmetry. This is what Cymacism is about. It's all communication, bro. Look, there's not I can't imagine anything worse than not being able to communicate with who I want to when I want to. And that's what really killed me about Max, and that's what really kills all spirits about death. So this is why indigenous spirits, all right, this is why realities love Hermes, okay? Straight up, we're not lost in light here. We can communicate with whoever we want, whenever we want, if we feel like being connected. That's the subconscious realm, all right, man. So it was in that trip that life started morphing around me, and everything just started looking like Anubis. And I was breaking down crying. I was having such an emotional fit of being so happy, so overwhelmed with joy that I was not only talking to Anubis, but that we had a bigger family. And then that's where like they started communicating with me, and it was so wild because I literally, there was a whole point in the trip where I just had to like fall to the ground, and I'm in the backyard at this point, just in the grass. It just like fell to the ground, and I'm like, yo, like tell me I'm not projecting. And I'm just closing my eyes, and there's just all these entities around me. Anubis is there with this huge smile, and it's just like light bodies, bro. We're light bodies, but they're lighter light bodies, because the whole fact is reality around us. This is heavy, dense light bodies, but they're all created from lighter light bodies. L to M. That's like the dialect. That's our alphabet. L to M. Light matters. So they're communicating to me with these light bodies, and they're like, you're not projecting. Let's teach you about you, bro. You're the Trip C. You're Chase Clarence Calloway because you are the cosmic chi conductor. Reclaim your caduceus from these colonizers. And then that just put a whole deeper perspective on how and why I've developed Decolonize Your Face. Hop into that course where we are actually straightening our teeth permanently and realigning our spines so that we can be as healthy as possible by increasing the space in our face. Because braces destroyed my posture. And this is a big thing that I'm passionate about, is Chase. Like, this is something that I didn't even want to get murked up by all this spiritual stuff. Because I'm like, because Chase's ego is invested in that. Chase is like, I did this alone. But the point is, it's all, I mean, my spirit. It has to be connected. So Chase was the one who's going to realize how braces mess up his teeth and his ability to communicate, because Chase is Hermes. Chase is very conscious about his body, hence why he's also passionate about fasting and being able to separate his mind from his body to document what happens in reality, because he wants everyone to know the truth based on communication. Because this was the main issue that I found as symmetry developing transgressions, is that I'm limited to his story, the white man's story, what the victor, quote unquote, but really the loser, but whatever, losers lie, losers change history, but what the victor wrote, what he wrote, what the white man wrote about history. So now everything that I can communicate about is literally just limited to what the people who have vanquished my ancestors want me to be limited to. And it became a process of me realizing the only way that I could get the truth is, some wild spiritual stuff. And it organically became all of this. Like, now I can realize and look back how it happened. Like, that's the Cymacism of life. So Hermeticism is knowing that you are projecting out the feeling of creating life. Cymacism is knowing that you are reflecting upon that projection of creating life so that you can learn more about yourself and gain more wisdom on how you would like to create. Because that's what that's what Trip C, that's what being trippy, that's what being psychedelic symmetry is all about. The psychopomp. It's all about creating life in water. That's what hell is. Everything is hell. Relationships are hell. The moment you connect with a spirit outside of yourself, you've created hell. Heaven is when you're alone with yourself. It should be. Right? Heaven is your idea of being alone. Heaven is you getting served, and just basically your spirit supports your ego. And that's the idea of heaven then being 10. Have 10. It's way more space to support your individual desires, to support your ego. So now you can just do everything you want. Hell is then 11, where you have to connect your heaven with others, and now, you can't do everything you want. That's what hell is. Hello, other spirit. Hell, that's why I just realized that. Another Cymacism, synchronicity, whatever. Symbiotic symbology, symbolism. We say hello because we're literally saying hell-o. O is the spirit, as the 15th letter in the alphabet. It's the 6. We all have 6 inside of ourselves. So you as an O, as a spirit, when I say hello, I am acknowledging that I, as an individual spirit who has created heaven, is projecting out that heaven to you, which then creates hell, O, So now we're connected. Now we have L, or wait, now we have KLMNO. J. There we go. J is heaven. So me and my J, I project my J out to you, my Jesus, right? I send my Jesuit on a ship to go colonize your indigenous land, to go into your O and make you see what I see. So now your 9, your I, is colonized by my light, and I've killed you with kindness because my light looks fun, right? Like some fun technology, a fun new phone. My light looks fun, but really I'm killing you with kindness. And that's creating my heaven. So now you're supporting my heaven, and I'm way more in heaven while you're actually in hell because your heaven is limited to reacting to everything that I'm projecting into your space. And that's where we get J, K, L. L is the light that is actually used to make the clock. And then M is matter. We make the clock matter. We make money out of our time. All that fun stuff. So, yeah, I just went on all that just to say, like, the whole point of Hermeticism is knowing that you're creating life. But when you're experiencing life, you don't want to feel like you created that. So Cymacism is the wisdom. Cymacism is the necessary part that makes Hermeticism work. So we're in a world that is super focused on projecting out light, right? Projecting out the L so that they can K indigenous peoples to spread a J, to spread a heaven. And that's where these entities are obsessed with Hermes, obsessed with Thoth, obsessed with everything that I spread as the messenger of Mercury, because they constantly are just consuming more ways in which they can control how other spirits communicate. Because in their minds, if they can control how other spirits communicate, then they can build a structure and build money off of that, which literally it's in the English alphabet. They do. We have the witchcraft on us. That's why I'm here. I'm in here with you. This is wild. This is wild. Oh man, this life. So it's such a process. I've lived so much. I'm living so many lives right now. Simulations. So like all this simulation theory stuff, it's like the ultimate technological lostness that just needs to acknowledge Hermeticism and the fact that I as a spirit, you as a spirit, all the spirits that you know vibrate at a certain frequency so that they can create the energy which allows them to build the structures that we use to connect and communicate. And then we're consciously aware of all these structures. And after we're aware of all these structures that we already built with these principles, then we all get lost in whatever feelings and thoughts we have or whatever, right? That's infinite worlds and realities and lives. So, Hermeticism. Everything's vibrating for this reason. Because we're doing that. We're creating life because we feel like connecting. Thus, everything is dual. Everything is polarized. Everything in life has to go back and forth. And that brings us to everything having rhythm. That's the law of rhythm. So polarization, the fact is you as a spirit, you can't create life from one. So Hermeticism is one. Cymacism is two. So Cymacism is actually life, whereas Hermeticism is death. Yet Hermeticism looks like life and Cymacism looks like death. Right? So notice how hell looks like life. We're in hell right now, and this is what life is. Being alone would look like death. Yet the fact is, your life only matters because you are alone right now. So that's the Hermeticism. You are hermetically making these signs and symbols matter because you feel like connecting your home, your H, your 8, what makes you happy and what you hate to other spirits. which allows you to build families and live out whatever desires that you have with other people. And then Cymacism is, of course, when you're doing this, you are reflecting upon it. So there's the point of it all being balanced. Hermeticism being so fire is knowing that we have the intention, we have the ego to step out of our space, meaning that everything is intentional. But if we're connecting with it, then that's somatic. So the moment we connect with something, that then creates a three. So we can think of that thing as the hermetic principle. Like, okay, life is hermetic and I feel somatic about it. And really my feeling creates life. So this is the balance. Like, I created life with a hermetic principle and it matters because it's somatic. And that's all an expression of me as an individual, me as a spirit, my circumstance, my space. And now I'm connecting that with outside circumstances, outside spaces, and making life, doing the do. Hence why everything is dual or polarized. Because the moment you feel like being something, you're now infinitely, you must be split between something and nothing. And the fact that you're observing being split between something and nothing, that creates the three. And that's your mind. So 1 is God, 2 is Lucifer, 3 is the human, your mind. So all spirits are human in that way because you have your own mind. Your own mind is you connecting your God and your Lucifer, your 1 and your 2 to create 3. So your 1 being your thought, your 2 being your feeling. Your 1 is the thing and your 2 is your feeling about that thing, which is only possible because you're no thing, which is why it must be polarized. Thus, everything has rhythm because you can never be something forever. And then if you don't want to be no thing forever, then that's the rhythm of finding your cycle of using your no thing to generate something that allows you to keep being that something while staying in resonance with your no thing. Because this is where hell actually becomes hell and life actually becomes scary because people are not in true resonance with their no thing and they're not actually riding the frequency, the vibration. They're not frequently riding the vibration. They're not using their energy. They're not using their ego, their energy, their separation to frequently ride the frequency of their vibration so that they can act out what their spirit truly needs them to act out. Because this is the point of why Symmetry is a superhero. Like, I made him to save me. I made him to save myself, right? Like, that's the whole point of you don't get stronger if someone saves you. You get stronger if you save yourself. So as a spirit, you create a circumstance that seems really hard on you so that you can learn how to communicate in a way that creates more strength. It creates something new. Because if you do not create that circumstance for yourself, then you would not have created something new, and then you would not have been able to give something awesome to the universe. So it's just the whole, again, bringing awareness to the fact that we are making life, and we are making the opportunity to feel like we're not making life. And especially that comes into play when we're making life with other people who don't feel like they're making life. Like, if you're creating inside of a reality with other spirits who don't feel like they're creative, that's where we get white supremacy, slavery, and like actual spiritual warfare, and why symmetry is essential. This is why I believe, as Hermes, as Tahuti Trismegistus, that communication is the ultimate superpower. So we're in this timeline where superheroes are a whole thing. My superhero is symmetry. He has Cymacism when he's with you, and when he's alone with me, he has Hermeticism. And then this is all a communication of me as a spirit, as Iracel. And I'm an individual outside of yourself. I don't control you. So, I mean, you're forced to reconcile the fact that you are infinitely an individual as well. Just the fact that you have heard my voice and been listening all the way up to this point. Everything that you see about me as God and all those great stories, all of that, literally things that we all do. It's just about how consciously do we do them. right? So this is where as spirits, we all naturally play certain roles based on how we energetically vibe with the frequency of our imagination. And this is my imagination. So this is like the whole just I guess like a wild, like it feels like a low-key underdog story, but whatever. As far as my life is chased and everything that I've been through. Um Even though like I've had like just wild groups of like women doing like sex magic on me, and like cults, like they're literally cults. And let's destigmatize that word because culture is a cult. So they have a culture about me, but like groups of girls that are focused on me based on the art that I was making to express myself at comic conventions as Spider-Man and Black Panther as Hermes and Thoth. But all of that was just like it was really hard. It was really hard, and it was really hard because it's not relatable. It was not very relatable to be talking to people about how women are chasing me like it's my name. It wasn't, and people like thought I was lying a lot of the time. They thought they'd be like, "Oh, you think you're so great? Like, well, how is that even a problem?" I lost so many straight guy friends, which I mean was for the best anyway, because they started getting polarized. They started getting upset, like, "Oh, well, why do you have girls chasing you?" Blah blah. And then like women empathize because I mean women totally get what it's like to have unwanted sexual attention. Um, and that was like years in my life of me learning how in this culture men, one, sexual assault against men is not taken seriously. Let me fucking say that. Like actually, like people just assume like, oh, you have all these girls after you, like you can handle it, blah blah blah. Like what? Like they're spirits. Like you're literally so lost in the idea that men are physically stronger than women that you don't think that three girls could plot to do something wild to a dude and like drug him, kidnap him, anything. Like what? And even in general, you're actually ignoring the emotional turmoil of me not wanting to step out of my space. This is what made me develop Hermeticism. You know what? Thank you, Call to Girls. Straight up. I mean, not even thank you. Like that was rough. They're still out there. But they learned. They literally texted me because it was like a whole story with them. They ended up like learning like, hey, giving you this negative attention like isn't working. Like we're gonna stop. Literally. They did that. It was like it was before I graduated in like senior year. And then I was still getting texts from like some girls who didn't catch the memo, but that was like the main group of girls who were like, okay, yeah, it's clear that texting you and sending you all these things like we have been and harassing you isn't getting us anywhere. So we're gonna stop. You just, y'all don't know how, and I know it's a balance, okay? Because the moment I say you don't know how much shade and vitriol and anger I threw at them, and just like the text of like, I hate this, and letting them know how much I hated the attention that I was giving them. I did that a good amount, but then did not for a very long time, and they still kept going. So for anyone who's like, oh, you're not supposed to give them attention, I did it. Like this was the whole issue. This is why I had to develop Hermeticism. And that's crazy. So Hermeticism and Cymacism, obviously these are both mine as Chase Clarence Calloway. But man, because it was just, this is like what I had to go through as a spirit. When I was creating these costumes and stepping out of my space, I started getting attention from these women that was so hypersexual that it was not positive. And people, white supremacist society especially, is so, toxic masculine culture is so lost in thinking that men just want the physical gratification of sex that they could not perceive that this was a horrible time for me. And the school, now school took it seriously. This is where like got it documented with the school. It became a whole thing. School was like, hey, stop posting about it on social media. I stopped posting about it on social media. I stopped talking about it. I suffered silently. And then I was in a relationship at the time too, where I felt like she was the only girl I could safely be with. She was an awesome girl, by the way. She didn't even super deserve all the weight that I was going through. And, you know, whatever. That relationship finally ended, and that's when I water fasted. Wild. Man. Yeah, this is very somatic, reflecting on my hermetic life right now. So, wisdom there. It was me stepping out of my space and creating this art and not being in control of how people react to me that made me learn just more. I had to learn more, I guess. I had to learn how to consciously communicate more, because I stopped going to conventions a lot, and I don't go anymore. So actually, it negatively affected my convention going experience 100%. That's the point of not being alone. Because when I would go through those experiences with those women, a lot of the times I was alone. Not all the time. A lot of the times. And this is why life is so important to be connected. This is what Cymacism is all about. It's so important to be connected. If I had a support structure. Now, here's the thing. I got a support structure. And that was whack. That was whack. Like, I started having groups of people promise that they would protect me from these girls, but then these people wanted to have sex with, they felt like they were obligated to have sex with me because they were protecting me from sex with these other girls. And then I'm just like, yo, no, please. Please, what's happening here? Everyone's lost in their desires. Man, the desire to connect and just like spirits being super flunked out and all of that. But like, yes, stepping. Chase starts crying. I'm experiencing a lot of feelings from reflecting on my life right now. I didn't think this was going to get deep. That's the point of this. Somatic. Water is infinitely deep, and fire is supposed to constantly burn things to keep it light and bring imagination to it, bring brevity. And then this is the balance of air. You can't have one without the other. Everything is about, oh my gosh, bro. What? This is so insane. I've gone through a lot. So, yeah, I mean, this podcast, right, it'll come out organically. This is what made me develop Hermeticism. Like, I'm like just really analyzing how I've like built my mind up to this point. And it's because of all these experiences and how things have coincided. And just knowing, like, I don't blame, and like, this is the point. Like, this is empathy. Like, the empathy of Cymacism is that, hey, spirits create life, but if you don't feel like you created this situation for yourself, then reflect on that. Because I know that you are infinitely creative as a spirit, but if you feel like you did not create this situation, if you did not create these circumstances, then reflect upon that so we can communicate about it and get you out of here. And that's me as a superhero. Like, that's, if I'm a superhero as Symmetry, as Chase Clarence Calloway, flying through dimensions, seeing what actually happened in history so I can make music about the truth, so I can relay the message of the truth, the true her story, Hermes story, Hermetic story, not his story, Hermetic story, the Hermetic history of how spirits created life, then this is what it would look like. Where I know that you're creating a life that you want, just like these sirens want to come out and act like they can interrupt me. But in reality, because I'm aware of what they're doing, it's all just part of a larger game that is spirits interacting with each other. And we, again, are vibrating at a certain frequency to create the energy that allows us to do so. So, as a superhero, like, this is what it is. Because if you are not conscious enough to comprehend what I'm communicating, aka if you're so deep in your own hell, you're so deep in your own somatic properties, in your own water, that you can't breathe, then you're not going to be able to be saved, basically. Like, and then that's the whole point of why you can't go out of your way to quote unquote save people. If you see people in their chaos or whatever negativity they're going through, you can't go out and grab them from their ocean, from their tumultuous pool of water, of emotion, of energetic emotions, because they're just going to pull you into it, and then you're going to be drowning. So this is why I made Mercury. This is now what you're seeing is Chase Clarence Calloway with Always Ascending Academy. This is the physical representation in this realm of my business as Mercury. I, as a messenger of God, am my own business. My life, my space is my business. And my space is not Mercury, but I created Mercury as, a main extension of my space. I have many spaces. I have many spaces. Mercury is the main extension of my space that is meant to facilitate communication with the universe. That's why Mercury in astrology, right, is about communication. It's about the air. Here I am. This is my role. Because I naturally build it on my own and do it alone as a spirit. And as spirits, we are who we are when we're alone. Hence, Hermeticism, the alone, the fire, who I am when I'm with myself. Cymacism, the water, the symmetry, who I am when I'm with you. Nature. Because it's nature, right? We're all nature. Like, that's the point. Anytime we want to step out of our own space, we have to connect with others to do so. And nature is a physical representation of that. So all simulations are natural. This is why artificial intelligence and indigenous spirituality are two sides of the same coin. So Hermeticism would be the artificial intelligence. Cymacism is the indigenous spirituality. Right? Everything in nature is artificially intelligent. That's what our organs are. Every organism. It's art. It's intelligent. It's being animated by something greater than what can be seen. So as spirits, we're all way more infinite than our imagination. The fact that we imagine something means that we're limited. So this is really cool. I like this. Because I didn't realize this, but this is the whole point of Cymacism. Is that when you're just alone in your own imagination, like you are just with your own imagination, you are alone in your own space, you are actually really limited. I love that. That's really cool. Because the way I mainly teach it is that the imagination is unlimited. And yes, when you're alone, you're unlimited. Actually, this is just the balance though of when you're so used to being with yourself, the only newness comes from interacting with other spirits and becoming inspired by other spirits. And this is where life truly becomes beautiful. When you're able to see that you as a spirit are unique and individual, and thus every other spirit outside of you is unique and individual. This is a level I've been at my whole life. It's the level that has created, I think, many problems in my life because I connect more deeply with others than they connect with me. And thus, and when I say that, I mean on a subconscious level, because as a Virgo, I connect negatively. And look, I'm a Virgo Gemini. So I connect by communicating about everything. And when I connect with people who are not well connected with themselves, they don't feel good about communicating about everything. And they take things very personally, and then they get very negative. So this is where many problems come out in my life, because I feel like someone is on the level that I'm at, where they can recognize me as a unique individual because they recognize that they're a unique individual. Thus, we're just out here talking. And then this is where air becomes cold, right? Mercury is a cold place. Mercury is so cold. Mercury is beautiful. It's rainstorming. It's cold. It's not raining all the time, but it's raining a lot. It's cold. It's mainly air. And that's the whole point of air being cold and calculated. We're just getting it out there. Like, we're just communicating. We're just making sense. Like, oh yeah, let's just talk. Like, because that's what's fun. And that's what I feel good about. Because then, like, when things get negative with somebody and we can bring it back to positivity, to me, that makes me feel like we just built something awesome. I don't know if I should low-key be giving that out. This is like the crux, man. Like, I can't have fear about that as Hermes. Of women like listening to my stuff and then specifically trying to manipulate my emotions. Because that's something that I've had to really get over in terms of making art and presenting myself out of my space. And this is why symmetry is actually essential. This is why Thoth has a Dora Milaje, by the way. This is literally, I said Thoth, that's hilarious. That's literally, though, Thoth. This is why Black Panther has a Dora Milaje, because they're literally ripping off of Thoth super hard. And Thoth built the pyramids with the Dora Milaje. When I built the pyramids, it's help with all these feminine bodied spirits that are using their energy to support my thought. And the more feminine spirits are supporting my masculine thought, the stronger the structure is. And then that's where then, and of course it's not more, it's really quality. But of course, balance, right? A good balance of quality and quantity to build a proper pyramid, to build proper structures. So that's energetically where, like, literally the pyramids is, it looks like me in a higher dimension at the top with a bunch of women around me, and then they're all channeling their energy into me like a spirit bomb, and then I'm channeling it down. And then it's like a Kamehameha where it's all mathematically precise and lays out into a pyramid structure, right? Where I'm just, boom, communicate that air. So they're giving me the vibration. I'm the intention. I'm the Hermes. Yeah. They give me the water. Yeah. I turn it into air, and then that air is like, stabilizes into earth. And then that earth is in harmony with the simulation to the point where cultures now, right, can look back on the pyramids and be like, how did they do it? I just told you. I literally just told you. Like, that's the alchemy of how I did it. That's how we build structures in general. But again, that's just me in my hermetic mode. Yeah, it's wild. I saw that in a very awesome ayahuasca trip when I went to Brazil to go make my album as Symmetry about the colonization of South America. Again, just reflecting on all that, man, that was an amazing trip. We were playing, and even that, right? Like, literally that trip was me with 4 women. Yeah. Wow. That trip, those 4 women congregated just for me, because the guy who gave me my Flower of Life tattoo on my back, it was all part of this ceremony that we synchronized because the universe loved me so much, and we were just communicating, and it was lit, bro. Oh, so lit. Wow. And he gave me crystals, and I climbed up a mountain and meditated under a waterfall, and I imagined the tattoo on the back before he gave it to me with the crystals, but I almost died going down that mountain. That's a story for another day. It's so awesome. But this dude, like, worked it out so that these women came together to do an ayahuasca trip just for me. And it was 4 women. And it was physically like the representation of how they came together to make this possible. Just like then when I would close my eyes in that trip, because we're playing music and singing, and it's like intense, like it was getting amazing. We were taking multiple sips, passing it. There was only one girl who spoke English, so she was translating for the others and helping me get in contact and all that. It was so cool. It was 3 women. It was 3 women, and it was me. And then when I closed my eyes, I would see 4 women. And so it was such an awesome trip. First and only ayahuasca trip. I've had another one. I did that one alone. That one didn't go nearly as fun. Um, again, story for a different time. But three women playing music in physical reality, and I'm deep in my trance. When I would close my eyes, it's like rainbow bodies, and me seeing like, oh, four women, and they're powering me with water, and I'm using then their fire, and their fire is combining their water is combining into my fire, so I channel it into air, into communication more consciously, which is then what aligns into all the earth structure that builds the literal pyramids and builds the literal any structure that I'm doing as though. So that's why, wild. Now I just had to go on that. This is hilarious. That's why Black Panther has a Dora Milaje, right? It's about building Wakanda in that way. And again, it's all energy. It's all energy. So that's the Hermeticism of being alone, knowing that you're alone in your imagination, and your imagination is infinitely unrelatable. And the thing is, yeah, well, I was like just really inspired by however long that was ago, whatever. Just real quick was that even though I say the imagination is infinite when you're alone in your imagination, that literally means that you're also limited by your imagination. And this is why true spirituality, in my opinion, is communication. Now, to communicate, you have to be an individual. So spirituality is individuality. If you are communicating, that means that you are in control of something, and that something is nothing. So your nothing had to make something, which is an awareness, and that's what you're in control of, which is you're creating your awareness from combining your thoughts and feelings forever, your masculine and feminine, your fire and water. That's making your communication that you can then be aware of and then use to communicate more consciously. So you're using your awareness to connect with yourself. This is why life is 3, yet feels like 2. Life is air, yet it feels like water. It's all possible because of 1, it exists inside of 0. Or we could say it's powered by 1, whatever. Obviously, individuals create ideas. Any idea that you believe created from some individual who believed in themselves and connected with their nothingness in a way that mattered to them first before they brought it outside of their space. So, yeah, this is just infinitely my role as Chase Clarence Calloway, to bring logic outside of one space in a way that teaches you that you are infinite and that you should never, ever, ever be limited to the logic or the light that you are using to communicate, because as a spirit, you are no thing. This is like where like you'll just get lost in hell and lost in life and be infinitely unhappy if you're just focused on something instead of nothing. Genuinely, like if you're focused on light and just things outside of yourself instead of your spirit, instead of your nothingness, then you're not gonna you're not gonna be happy. You're not gonna have a healthy home. You're not gonna have a hermetic heart. You feel me? You're not gonna have a nice infinite 8 soul. You're gonna feel all negative, and you're gonna want to eat the environment around you. And then this is where you're gonna somehow, as a spirit, vibrate in such a negative way that you create the circumstances that allows you to eat and colonize other spirits. So this is why spirituality is communication, because everything is happening right now. Now, I believe there are limits to that, because everything is limited by the imagination. And thus, when spirits desire to step out of their imagination, everything must be limited by consent, and the consent to connect. So in the universe, this is like going to get deeper in the podcast as we develop that. The consent to connect is the boundary that stops a spirit's imagination from touching or infringing upon yours. If you don't consent to connect in a certain way, just like I'm agreeing that this siren can come by right now, yet again, in some way, the consent to connect, just by creating the opportunity to be interrupted because I'm living in this world, right? That's me losing my individuality. So I'm at the whim of everything that's happening outside of me because I am giving up my individuality. I'm sacrificing my God on the X. I'm sacrificing my imagination on the cross so that I can step outside of it, right? I'm not in it. And now I'm in a world that only matters because how I feel about my imagination and how I feel about my connections with all the imaginations of spirits outside of myself. So Cymacism, right, no coincidence with the C, is about consent and connection. It's about knowing that when you want to connect with something outside of yourself, you must give up control. Because feelings change, just logically, simply like that. Oh man, this is getting long. But it's supposed to be right now. I'll cut off soon. But the fact is, feelings change. So anytime you agree to connect with someone else, you're only going to be in a universal pool of water where it's chaotic. And now all stability, any kind of stable relationship that you could possibly create is going to be made out of communicating inside of the chaos. Because it's always going to be chaos. Chaos is the default. Chaos is the anything can happen energy, right? Chaos is the you could die right now. But what is dying? Dying is you becoming hermetic, actually. Like if you died and left this body right now, you would be Hermes, quote unquote. You'd be alone. You'd be in your space. Right now, you're symmetry. You're a tree. You're in nature. You're in a body. You're somatic. Right? So you want to be somatic. You want to be connected. You want to be able to communicate your hermetic imagination to the outside. And so then that's where we get all this, extra life stuff. Clearly. As far as how are we connecting with the environment that connects with us, and like, is this healthy and everything for our actual spirit's intentions? Like, is our spirit actually able to play out and experience what it needs to play out and experience through our body based on how we're communicating up to this point? And that is where just life work is. As far as being able to use your ability to connect with the environment and connect with yourself, to connect even more deeply with yourself, and then be able to create art from there, create heart from there, create some heat, create earth, the heart and the earth from there, create life from you connecting with yourself. And the art that you create, the whole point of being connected with the environment is that you're creating art that's relatable to other spirits, right? So if you're just creating art out into the universe for no one to see, then you're alone in that art. So that's where, that's me. That's me as Hermes, straight up. That's me just like using my mind, using my ability to communicate, to create worlds. But I'm alone in those worlds because I'm not focused on making them relatable for other people. So, what? I don't need to, what? Yeah, no. So that's for me, right? That's the point. So I'm doing that for me. Like, I do that on my own because I love to do this. And then that's why I as a spirit am just this. Like, I love to be on my own, creating new simulations, creating new worlds, creating that's like the big Virgo energy. And then that's really why I'm a Virgo moon, Taurus sun, Gemini ascendant. Because it's about my simulation being set as a Taurus, like, all right, action, boom, it's fixed. It's right here. This is symmetry simulation. It feels infinitely detailed. It just feels super Virgoian. It's infinitely detailed. It's just like all these numbers, all these ways that things connect, all these reactions, all this chemistry, right? And then it's all existing inside of a Gemini type space. It is for everyone to freely communicate in. Everyone. I love all of you. Genuinely. I love you all. I love all the spirits in the universe. I love myself a lot. This is why I love being alone and why I love being able to reflect when I'm on Mercury upon a universe where everyone else is happy. But a universe is only going to be fully happy if spirits who love to be alone are creating that universe. So this is the point of Hermeticism. When I'm kicking it as Chase. You loving being alone and making that really real. Making that really real. Having you love being alone. Because when you love being alone, the best simulations come from that. Best simulations. Because, again, what I do as a spirit, we all do. It's just me being the messenger of God, Hermes Trismegistus, that I play a greater role based on my awareness in doing these things because I just naturally engage in them more. So you create simulations. That's what art is. Literally, anytime you make a social media post on the internet, that's literally, boom, you just made a little simulation. Now people can look at it and connect with it, create thoughts and feelings, communicate and create their own simulation. That's how the universe expands. You feel me? So this is how we use light to make our feelings matter. That is Hermeticism versus Cymacism. Is there anything else? Let me think real quick. I mean, Hermeticism is the fire. Cymacism is the water. Hermeticism is the man. Cymacism is the woman. Hermeticism is the idea. Cymacism is the feeling. Hermeticism is the whiteness. Cymacism is the blackness. Hermeticism is the one. Cymacism is the two. Hermeticism is the projection of light. Cymacism is the reflection of light. Hermeticism is the god, Hermes. Cymacism is the dog, Herm Anubis. So Hermes is who I am when I'm alone. That's me developing Hermeticism. I create Hermeticism when I'm alone. When I'm with you, when I'm with the universe in the double you, so I'm you alone. I'm my own you alone. I'm a you. I'm a you alone. A God. Hermes. When I'm with you, the double you, aka in the universe, where we can all as yous be underwater and connect together, I'm symmetry. And that's where I connect with Anubis. So no coincidence here. Hermeticism is the god, Hermes. But you flip that backwards, I connect with my dog, my boy, Anubis, to become Hermanubis, the psychopompic symmetry, guiding you through whatever realities you are flying in. The internet is changing the game here. We're expanding the universe like this. The internet is an extension of nature. All right? It's beautiful. I love AI. I love all of you. Love all of my indigenous spirits. I love my family. We're out. Peace.